What's going on, Aces? Welcome back to the channel. This Throwback Thursday, I want to dedicate it to Jamie Foxx, who is still recovering in the hospital. As you may have heard, he recently had a medical emergency, and he's been in the hospital for the past 3.5, 4 weeks now. And while we don't know a lot, which is fine, we definitely want to respect the family's privacy. I know his daughter posted her social media saying that there was a medical emergency. And there has been a lot of speculation as to what the family is going to be preparing. They're hoping for the best, but they're preparing for the worst. So please keep Jamie Foxx and his family in your prayers. There has been family, flying in, and I'm just praying that the situation gets better because Jamie Foxx is definitely one of the great talents of our lifetime. And so I definitely want to dedicate this Throwback Thursday to him and some of my favorite shows and movies that he's done throughout his career, starting with The Jamie Foxx Show. So, as you guys may know, The Jamie Foxx Show lasted for 5 seasons. Basically, he played sort of himself, right? He said that it was based on his real life character. He's a Texas native. He plays a Texas native on the show, an inspiring actor, and he comes to Hollywood and hopes to find fame and fortune. So, to support himself before he lands his big role, he works at his aunt and uncle's Los Angeles hotel, the King's Towers. So, on this job, he competes for the love of Francesca Fancy Monroe, who's played by Garcelle Bouveau. She was working as a model in Europe before she was cast on this show. So that was our introduction to her and a whole host of characters that I'll get into a little bit throughout this video. But initially, she made it clear that she was not interested in an office romance with him, but they end up, of course, falling in love. They are hilarious, as the whole cast is, right? We have Christopher B. Duncan, who plays Braxton P. Hartnebrig. Ella English plays Helen King, his auntie. We have Garrett Morgan, who also plays his uncle, Junior King. So they're the core cast. And so the theme music is amazing. Of course, Jamie is a classically trained pianist and a singer. He is one of the multi talents. I mean, he can sing, he can dance, he can act. He's a brilliant entertainer. So this show, used to come on when I was a kid, and I loved it. Jamie Foxx, he is a comedic genius. And again, like I said, it was on the WB. It lasted for 5 seasons. Its first episode came on August 28th, 1996. And it is just one of my favorite shows. I feel like there was an era of television that was really short-lived that highlighted, Black talent that had between the WB, I think UPN and like Fox, like those were the three networks that were really pushing the Black sitcoms in American television in the 90s. And I'm forever grateful because those are the things that I grew up, seeing as a kid. So it's so important for representation as a young child. And Jamie Foxx, Garcelle Bouveau, and this entire cast definitely brought humor and style and just made us laugh every single week. So here, Jamie is Jamie, of course, that was his character's name as well. He was just trying to make it in Hollywood, going through all kind of different things. He actually ended up with a spot on a Jingles commercial because he had many jobs throughout the 5 seasons. But a side hustle of his, after he left the hotel, he got into a dispute with his aunt and uncle, but he ended up working at a place called Jingles 2000, and he utilized his talents as a singer songwriter, which is, of course, in real life, that's who he is. And, him and Fancy, again, they ended up falling in love and they ended up having a beautiful wedding. So I really love when shows have a chance to, you know, wrap and finalize and bring it to a nice close and a conclusion with a nice bow on top. And I feel like the Jamie Foxx Show really did that. But in between time and in the meantime, before, him and Fancy ended up getting married, they had, this enemies to lovers type of trope. And, they would have humor going back and forth. And of course, Fancy being gorgeous, she had, she was dating ER doctors and she was dating professional athletes. And of course, Jamie was in his feelings about that. So he was consistently trying to win her heart throughout the seasons. So here she is, planning, I think either a girls' trip or a bachelorette party for one of her friends. And Jamie is, recruited to help. But there were just so many different scenarios throughout, again, their 5 seasons that I loved. He introduced us to, there were so many guest roles. Sherry Shepherd played, Fancy's best friend, and they had their, sparring back and forth because her and Jamie didn't get along. We have Orlando Brown, who, again, he played on so many different shows. Family Matters. He, of course, Disney. So I hope that he's doing well. Keep Orlando Brown lifted up in prayer as well. He went through a lot when he was, just in that Hollywood machine, and his mental health is so important. So keep him lifted up in prayer as well. But he was great on this show. He was a little brother, the mentoring program. He was Jamie's little brother, and, Jamie really looked out for him. Here was one of my favorite episodes, Shamar Moore, and he shows up at a costume party. Like I said, Fancy always had some arm candy. And he, of course, Shamar Moore was huge in the 90s as well. So they were at a costume party here where, Shamar is charming. And of course, he, as always, took off his shirt, and, Fancy and him went out for a while. And Jamie, of course, was trying to break that up. He was trying to break that up in the funniest way possible. But yeah, this was my favorite episode. It still is to this day. The time where Mark Curry made the entire cast break character. Like, everybody was laughing. Jamie and Braxton, they have to go to traffic school, and Mark Curry plays this really loud and, just obnoxious traffic instructor. And he's making Jamie, do all these push-ups. And the funniest part is when, Mark Curry, he asked what about the first wheel, what was the problem with it? And, Braxton raises his hand and he's like, I believe it's a square, sir. And Mark comes and he's like slipping and sliding and falls. He falls. And, he's like, yeah, it's a square, just like you're a square, you're L7 square. And, Jamie's like, don't let him break you, B. It's a clip floating all around social media still to this day, because it's one of the greatest, in my opinion, one of the funniest episodes in, TV history. So that was one of my favorites. But yeah, the Jamie Foxx Show, again, it just, brings a smile to my face. And it was, and still is, one of my favorite TV shows. So I really hope that, Jamie is recovering, that he knows how much we, love and appreciate him and his talent and his work and his gift to all of us, and just continue to keep him and his family lifted up in prayer, because the Jamie Foxx Show was one of a kind. So that was one of my favorites from him, Throwback Thursday. I will share a couple more. Please drop down in the comments to let me know, your favorite episode from the Jamie Foxx Show. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And I will talk to you later. Take care, Aces. Bye.